Dear beloved Creator of all that is, we feel and express our gratitude for our very being and for our awareness of your cause of our lives and unconditional love and presence in our lives. So we thank you. And we honor you when we stand up and recognize that all power is inherent in the people, for we know the gifts you bestowed us with. We feel gratitude in knowing faith is more powerful than government and that nothing is more powerful than God, creator of all. And so it is.
Hello, my name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. We're going to speak today about we have to come together and think back to when they made the Constitution and so many of the states says, no, that's not good enough at all. You got to have a Bill of Rights in there and you got to straighten that stuff out and you've got to fix. And they said, wait a minute, let's take this one step at a time. Just this much is good. Go home, get this ratified, bring it back, and then we'll make a a Bill of Rights and make everybody happy with the Bill of Rights. And we've made this thing so that we can put amendments to it. So let's not worry. Let's take care of this. And they did, and it worked. And Rhode Island and Providence Plantation got their butt hurt and they couldn't come back for a while, but they eventually made it back and all 13 ratified it. And they struggled until they finally got a constitutional Republican form of government going in 1819. It takes a long while to steal 13 states from the strongest and most powerful king on earth. And they did it. And it took a while. Most of the people that they were living with still wanted to be with the king. But it eventually got done. 1819. They passed 13 tona. And they said, we will not have any esquires around here. Esquires is another name for those people that are members of the British Accreditation Registry or bar attorneys. Not all of that can be proven. I can't support every bit of what I just said, but a lot of it can be. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. Prophets, those who prognosticate the truth. We are loaded with prophets all over YouTube and BitChute and Byteon and every other place you can look. There's a prophet that's going to tell you, if this happens, we're all, and they just go on. They don't know. Nobody knows. God's not speaking to them directly. You can tell it by looking at them. So prognosticators, nah, not buying it. They can have a good idea. They can even have a correct idea. They may think very strongly of something, but you don't speak against your own best interests unless your best interest is not the best interest that we think it is. Because if you're speaking against us, then you're not with us. And the spoken word has a lot of power. This is my big dictionary. And this is my Black's Law Dictionary. So let's start. The current teachers or instructors among the people that self-identify as non-United States citizens unless they choose to expatriate. You got that? That's pretty convoluted. the current teachers or instructors among the people that self-identify as non-United States citizens unless they choose to expatriate. That group is loaded with self-servers. You see them all over the internet. They're going to tell you something really good and important, and all you have to do is join their Patreon or give them $20 and they're happy. They tell a lot of truth and then they slip in the lie, and they do. It can only be for their own benefit. It surely does not help us, the folks I associate with. If you are in a state, capital STATE, such as in the state of Oregon, you are a self-admitted, in quotes, non-sovereign man or woman. Word art, it's astounding. The color of law incorporated governance is a construct of the bar, British Accreditation Registry, or Attorneys Guild that is either a JD or an Esquire on Oregon. Did you know that? When somebody gets a law degree and wants to practice law in Oregon, the Oregon State Bar asks them, do you want to be an Esquire or a JD? How can that be? I don't know, but they do it. Anyhow, the bar and the military since 1861, except on Oregon. We did away with that on Oregon. I'll tell you the secret later. Somehow, the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly has not been sanctioned by YouTube. We say stuff, and so far, no ricochets. Our friend the Frog, they took down his whole channel. Everything he had there's gone, like he didn't exist. That's not good. Anyhow, the color of law incorporated governance is a construct of the bar or attorneys guild that is either JD or Esquire on Oregon and the military since 1861, except on Oregon. Somehow the OSJA, Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, has not been sanctioned by YouTube. Said that twice. None of us have been arrested by the FBI, the U.S. Marshal Services, the U.S. Marine Corps, the Oregon National Guard, 36 sheriffs, the superintendent of the Oregon State Police, or any city cops. None of us. We have been at this for 3 years last June. 0 rebuttals to our documents. All of those in the patriot movement, and I put patriot in quotes because a lot of them are Pinos, patriots in name only. Not one of them has rebutted what we say. Some of them say no, but they don't rebut. Where's the rebuttal? No to what? They don't have one. If they do, we'll correct it. We correct all our mistakes. Anna published on the internet that Ron Vroman is all sorts of wrong things. She published it in video and in written form, and I have rebutted all of it. Everything I found, I rebut. She quit emailing me because I would rebut everything she sent. So she stopped sending, which was a delight because it was so hard to rebut everything that she said. But last week, her minion, Robert Graves, told a group of CC on Oregon a lie about me. And I rebut that lie, and I rebutted it with all the people in CC through Charlie. There are some lies that we need to be aware of. Let me explain the Constitution to you. A group of men assembled in Congress together under the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union that named themselves the United States of America. It was a named entity and it had a function. That group assigned a group to fix the articles so that they could deal in international trade with other nations because they couldn't under the Articles of Confederation. They needed to be able to deal internationally and they couldn't. Their document was not strong enough to carry it. So they were going to fix it. The guys that were going to fix it decided to just set it aside, bring it forward into the Constitution, but deal with the Constitution, and they did. When they brought it back, they had all sorts of arguments, but they eventually took 13 copies of it out to their states, and they got them all eventually ratified and brought back. Now, we know that there's 13 copies of it, and those 13 are 13 different originals. They had to take an original out and bring original back. So if you had a loose leaf binder, you would have 13 of those ratified constitutions written in longhand by whoever they hired to write it out in the book. That would be the United States of America's apostrophe S Constitution. That would be it in a book. Not two, not three, none of that. That's it. Now, they could make a copy and give it to the United States, which is the public service, government service company in Washington District of Columbia, which is supposed to be a 10-mile square. But when you look at it, it looks like Virginia took all their piece back on the other side of the, I think it's the Potomac. Yeah, Arlington, Virginia is across the river and it's not part of Washington, D.C., but originally it was supposed to be. I don't know why that is. But when you get to that point, you know that there's one, the United States of America's Constitution. That group of Congress assembled, they manufactured, they created the Constitution and the United States. No arguments. You can't argue that. There's nothing to support your argument. So then after they did that, then they brought forth amendments. And they also had wars and they fought and they hung people, and it was a terrible, hard time to bring a nation together out of all those pieces and parts when they had royalists and foreign agents and registered foreign agents and unregistered foreign agents and indigenous people and free inhabitants and peaceful inhabitants and all of these different factions on the land. Then you come to the notion that there is a jurisdiction for people on the land. People on the land are sovereign and they have no subject and they have no ruler. That's who they are. Now, Anna says there's 3 different constitutions and she names them, I don't know, the Vatican Municipal Constitution and the British Territorial Constitution, and I guess the United States Constitution. But she can't support it. She doesn't support anything she says. So the next thing we're looking at is, Why does Anna say all of these things that are not true? Such as an assembly on a state, there can only be one. There's only one state, so there can only be one assembly, and that's her assembly. And that assembly has to run as she says it is supposed to run. That's batshit crazy. As many people on the land as want to can assemble any way they want to and do anything that they want to do. All they have to do is get their jurisdiction straight so that they know who they are and they can prove who they are and they can turn away those that will lie to them. He who can be deceived, let him. And you have to remember that everybody, every single one of them that is in the federal government, the state government, the county government, or the municipal government will lie to you to protect their own best interest. That's just the way it is. Now, Anna says land and soil jurisdiction. And I thought about that for a while. Then I remembered a guy named Robert Lavoie Finicum. He was talking about his grazing rights. And he had on chaps and a cowboy hat, and he was squatted down on his grazing land. And I think a daughter was taking the pictures, and he was explaining it. If it's still on the internet, it's worthwhile. He owned the grazing rights on the land. He didn't own the land, he owned what was in the soil of the land. The grass growing was his. He had rights to it. That's not land rights, that's the soil rights, that's grazing rights. And there's a difference. So then we move on to the next thing. Without supporting evidence, you cannot maintain a position in law. If you say something, you got to support it. And your supporting evidence has to be strong enough to uphold what you're saying. Every single thing we say in the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, you can see most of it on our website. William's been sick, but he's going to be well soon, and he's going to have everything else up on the website that we've ever published or anything else that we've ever videoed. It'll be there soon. But right now, there's enough there to prove that what we say, we prove. We have documentation of everything we do. We don't lie, and we support everything. The next thing. Okay. Then I ran into a guy. No, that's wrong. I became aware of a guy through Jules Embry. She said when she decided that we should have a Jural assembly on Oregon, and we agreed and went with it, she turned me on to a guy named David Straight. He goes by the name of David-Lester Straight, which is similar to Russell-J. Gould. And I find that to be quite pretentious. I find that to be along the lines of women's lib from the 60s and the 70s when they decided to hyphenate their name and keep their name, which they have every right to do. But it's pretentious as hell. And in South America and in Latin countries, you have your father and your mother's last name. You have your first and second apellido or last name. So David Straight didn't decide, or no, David Straight decided that our Jural Assembly was not a good place for him to be. So he declined to join us 3 years ago. And since then, I've had several run ins with him because he lies. Now, his lies are the kind that he tells a whole lot of truth and then he slips in a lie. Here's part of it. He says American state national is what you have to be, and you can't expatriate from that. And whatever state you were born into is the state that you're a state national of. And I say that's totally wrong. If you're a sovereign man or woman born on the land and soil of any of the several states and or territories of the United States, then you are a sovereign without subject and without ruler if you know it. If you don't know it, then you're a U.S. citizen. So, what is U.S. citizen? That's a really good one. So, if you take Black's Law and you look up citizen, and in Black 6, it's on page 244. And on 244, citizen is in bold type and it's capitalized in Black's Law. Then you come down after the first paragraph, and then it puts citizens in quotes in regular typeface. And then you read all the way through it, and there is no citizen in all lowercase. That's interesting. Then you get Black's Law and put it aside and pick up Webster's. And in Webster's, you look up citizen. Come on, Ron. Get quick here. You look up citizen, and in mine, it's on page 183. And citizen is in all lowercase, not capitalized. Okay. So then in Black's Law, it's bold and capitalized, and it's capitalized in quotes, but it's not in lowercase. Word art, you got to be careful with these people. In Webster's, it says a native or naturalized as opposed to alien, a member of a state or nation, owing allegiance to its government and entitled to its protection, an inhabitant of a city or town, especially one entitled to its privileges or franchises, sometimes a civilian. We should probably be looking in Bouvier, but I looked up citizen, pardon me, national, and a national gives jurisdiction to the nation that they claim to be a national of. If you give away your jurisdiction, you give away your sovereignty. You put them in charge of you if you choose to use that word. But unless when you write it all out, you say, I choose to be able to define the words I use, then you can write anything you want. And when anybody challenges you, as long as you can back up your claim, your words can mean what you want them to mean. Personally, when I became aware of, I don't want to be an American state national. I want to be a man. I want to be a sovereign. I want to have a whole lot of peers. Everybody can be my peer that wants to be, but I have no subjects and I have no ruler. That makes a big difference. Most people especially David Strait, is teaching you want to be a state national. There's another guy. What is his name now? That Supreme Court nominee that couldn't make it years and years ago. I can't remember his name now. But the guy that says he coined the phrase state national, they're wrong. And they teach wrong, just like Anna teaches wrong, just like Keith teaches wrong. Keith says he got the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union from the Navy at an auction as an unneeded document, and that he was modernizing it. And people believe that shit. Can you? I can't. I told him the first day I heard it. He also says he got a hold of the portfolio from Benjamin Franklin, the first Postmaster General, and in it was the charter to be the Postmaster General, and that charter had never been passed on to the next guy. So Keith says he's the Postmaster General because he found an old document. No, no, that's not how it works. But people are following T. Rowe and saying, that's right. He's saying the right stuff. It's wrong. And he's saying the wrong stuff. Oh boy, I got a phone call. I'm not going to answer it. So then the next thing we want to look up is state. I'm going to blacks again. And this is on page 1407, state. Again, it's in capitals and bold, it says it's a noun. Then it says a people permanently occupying a fixed territorial bound together by common law, habits, and customs into one body politic, exercising through the medium and organized government, independent sovereignty, and control over the persons and things within its bounds. So if you want to be a state national, national and state both put you in the jurisdiction of that nation state, not as a free man. And David Strait's teaching that. So, how much time have I used? Looks to me like I'm running out of time here. Does anybody else have anything they want to say? Well, I guess not.
Ron,
Yeah,
I got something to say. Yeah.
go, Jeff.
First of all, I want to thank you for everything you just said. I mean, that was really, really good stuff. And God bless you, Ron. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I want to give a little glimmer of hope to everybody. I'm not gonna say the town I'm in, because I don't want to bring any attention to us, but I'm in northeastern Arizona. And I recently moved here back in the spring. And there's two type of folk here in town that go back about 100 years. There's Spaniard Basque people. They're not Mexicans. Then they were here before the Mormons, and it upsets the Mormons a little bit. And there was segregation, and the Spaniards went to one school, and the Mormons went to another school, and there was a line drawn across Main Street. And I'm fast tracking this pretty good, and that was going on for about 80, 90 years. And nowadays, they get along. And the little Colorado River, we had rain for a month straight, and it flooded it, and it washed out some of the Spaniards down the lower land. And the young Mormon boys came with sandbags to help them out. And I'm living in a place where we don't know that COVID exists. Nobody wears a mask. Everybody's got a gun. Everybody grows a garden. America's strong. Everybody's waving a flag, and we couldn't even tell there's a problem on the planet. And I just want folks to know that if we stick together and we take care of one another, that can happen all over this great country. Ron, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff. Damn, it's good to hear from you again. Anybody else have anything to say?
Oh, you know I do.
Ah, yes.
First of all, I'd like to reach out to Anna and not go for a tit-to-tat, but to inform her if she does happen to hear this. The United States of America, Inc. is bankrupt. Reach out to any attorney, law enforcement, forest ranger. They will not dispute that fact. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, the United States of America, Inc. is bankrupt. Therefore, there is no state of Oregon, United States of America. We are sovereign people, not only by God, but by the King himself. We are free men and women, and we will follow our Constitution that was laid out for us. Everybody read Article 1, Section 1. We will abolish, reform, or alter as we see fit. I yield.
Thank you, Cheryl. I agree 100%. Well, everybody else is still muted and I'm out of stuff to say. So thank you guys for showing up. It's all yours, William.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. Then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.